We will go live in just a moment. Feel free to throw some stuff up in the chat for the few people that are in here. Hey, what's up, YouTube world? SJG Perspective. So today I want to talk about, so glad you guys could all, join me on this Saturday. We were supposed to do it with Drone Tech, but he apparently threw his neck out. So he won't be doing any streams right now. Let me adjust my camera a little bit. I think something messed with it. So anyway, so I thought I would jump on and just, see how many people we can pull in. I know it's midday Saturday, so but this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I thought I would do it on live stream. I'm also going to redo it on actually, cut it up and actually make a little more produced video of it. But it's on the 8 Stages of Genocide. It's by a guy named Gregory H, I believe, and he works for Genocide Watch. And it was something that I think that really has some allegorical connections or analogous relationships with what's going on, what we see going on with the left right now, and the far left, and censorship and the demonization and so on and so forth. But before I get into all that, please, I want to remind you guys right now, please go and subscribe to me on Minds, and on BitChute, and on Parler, and on Gab. And then also you could follow me on Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth. But those are probably going to go away in the near future anyway. So, yeah, so do that. But one thing I wanted to touch on, I'll turn the light on here, is I have had I've been coming around to doing more of, I guess, getting more bold, if you will, when it comes to this whole censorship and freedom of speech stuff. The more I think about how we are slowly getting dumbed down in this society and in this culture of being controlled on how to think and what to say and what is acceptable to say and what isn't, and how you will get kicked off and absolutely unpersoned, deplatformed, shamed, social media dogpiled if you have a differing opinion than what is considered the socially correct or socially just opinion or speech, rather. I am so thoroughly sick and tired, and I'm angry about it. Actually, I'm getting more and more angry about what the hell does it matter what I say? What does it matter? What do our words matter? Now, that's one point. It's like we should be able to say anything. Now, I think we should also be good people and be decent people who don't want to go out of our ways to intentionally say stuff just so that we hurt people, just so that we tear people down, just so that we cause pain in somebody. I don't think that's a good thing to do. And I think if you're intentionally doing that, you're a kind of a dick. I've never been the type of person that's gone around and tried to hurt people's feelings or put them down. Having said that, to have the forces and the powers that be tell us what we can and can't say, and to dictate what is hate speech and what is not, and hate crimes and so on and so forth, and to be able to silence us and try to control our thought and silence our thought, I think it's just absolutely abhorrent to do that, and it's just absolutely terrible. And I guess I'm just going to rant a little bit before we get into what I want to talk about today. But it, like, for instance, the way comedy is getting so PC'd, and I know this is not new news. This is not breaking news, right? That this is a problem, but it should really, we've become anesthetized to it in some ways, to where we really, I believe, as a people, need to not be shamed about what we say. Don't say things to be a jerk. Don't say things to go out of the way to hurt people. But we should be able to say and be able to realize what's happening in context. Well, what has been said in context? For instance, comedians being silenced by not being able to say the N-word, right? We have or be able to say the F word, faggot, right? Because, and that's probably going to get this whole video demonetized, or not demonetized, but taken down, right? I don't think you should go around calling somebody that, because it is. It is very derogatory and can really cause the stigma to a gay person, right? But when we're talking about, we also need to be less easily tenderized and offended, and walk around in this like, oh my gosh, that hurts me so bad when you say that, especially when it comes to like comedy, especially when it comes to, being able to laugh at ourselves, right? And be able to say these words. There's one thing about, I definitely don't agree with everything Owen Benjamin says, and I feel like he goes off the rails sometimes. But I do really respect, and I think he's needed. That voice is needed in a lot of ways, and he's completely taken out of context. And anybody who you need to follow, you need to watch all of his streams and watch several of his streams to understand in context why he says those things that are so inflammatory, people say, and so over the top. It's like he says it for a bit of shock value, to say, why can't we say these things? Why can't we, use these words? And again, not in a way to hurt somebody's feelings and to intentionally rip them apart and take them down in a very, demeaning, derogatory manner, but in comedy, for instance, when we're talking in comedy bits and whatnot, in context, why can't we all just learn to laugh at ourselves? Why can't gay people not be offended when some comedian is, saying the F word, or say, with some, other person is, or when we're just talking in general, like the N word, like we're not calling a person the N word. We're just saying it in like, or somebody is explaining how, like, Argon of Assad was talking about in context how the far left or how the far right, and he uses the word in context, right, of explaining how they're idiots. He wasn't calling people the N-word. He just used it, and people were like, oh my God, and he got completely demonetized and taken down for it. Yet it's okay for the rappers, it's okay for the hip hop community, it's okay for all of those people to use it in their music and their songs and use it in a completely derogatory way, and that's fine. But if you're a terrible white person, you can't use that in a contextual way for describing something that someone said, or just in the scenario of our society. Everybody always has to censor that word, and it's such shit. It is such shit. Of course, no one should go around calling, some black person the N-word to hurt them or tear them down. But you know what? They should be able to say it. They should. And then let everybody who hears that in an open dialogue of ideas and communication be able to say, what a piece of crap. Why would you do that? Well, and then go after that person in that manner. Why not? What's up, Rational? How are you, man? It's so true that our feelings now are the most important thing, and we need to soften and bubble wrap the whole world. And I'm getting to the point where I want to, and honestly, I'm probably not there yet, because there is still some fear I need to shed of, like, crap, I'm going to get my whole channel taken down. But I want to shed that, and I'm going to try and work on shedding that. And I'm going to try to be able to speak freely about what I think is not good. And never try to, I don't want to go after people to just go after them. But if you put a target on yourself because you're such a dickwad that you need to be, that, you deserve to be gone after a little bit, well, then so be it. This whole thing with Carlos Maza and the whole adpocalypse things, man, he opened up a big can of whoop ass on himself with everybody from the left to the right. And not the far right pieces of crap, neo-Nazi KKK scumbags of the world, who literally use those words because they think that the black people are inferior, and when they use it to tear them down. And but we all let those stupid idiots share their thoughts and ideas, and let's debate them. And let's not censor them and quiet everything down to where nobody can say anything that they want to damn well say. It is so crazy to me. It is so crazy to me. And, here's the thing. I am also not going to try to be so perfect in everything I say on, I got to word this right, or that might come out wrong. I'm going to try to get away from that. I'm going to try to just shed that fear and just be me, because I know me is not a fucking racist. I know I don't look at a black person and think, oh, they're inferior to me, or a brown person and think, oh, they're pieces of crap, or this or that or the other. Every single person in the world makes discriminating judgments on somebody, on people. That is part of human nature, and that isn't entirely a bad thing. Right? You walking down a black alley and you see some people coming, and you start to discriminate and think, who are those people? Are they going to hurt me? Are they going to mug me? That is a evolutionary thing that's been programmed into us for survival. So all discrimination in and of itself is not wrong or bad. Now, when you discriminate against somebody just by the color of their skin or the sexual preference that they have, and you think that they're trash, and you think that and you treat them that way just because of that, that's wrong and bad. But there's good people and there's bad people in this world. And I am not, I don't give a shit anymore if, I'm going to probably get a little lippy on this one. If Cindy's in the stream, sorry about this, Cindy, ahead of time, or anybody that gets offended easily. I might drop some words here. I am going to get more and more open, I guess is the best way to put it. Open to what I feel, open to what I think, and just say it. And I am open to also saying I'm going to be wrong sometimes, and I'm going to say something that I need to come back and show some humility and say, geez, I shouldn't have said that. I was fired up. I was wrong when I said that. And that was messed up. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. I think that's very important, that there's not enough of true humility when people get called out on something that they said years ago or whatever, and the left mob goes out, the virtue outrage mob goes after them. They apologize, but is that really a sincere apology, or is it that they got caught? Something got brought up. That they maybe shouldn't have said, or that they think they should have said at the time, and now they just are changing their tune because everyone's outraged at them. If you can tell me and show me logically and rationally why I'm wrong on something, then I will stand up and say, I was wrong on that. I gave that more thought, and you know what? I changed my mind on that. I'm wrong on that, and this is my new take on that. And the moment you quit doing that as a person is the moment you quit growing, and the moment you become just a very stagnated piece of crap, actually. When everybody's learning all the time, everybody's learning what you constantly are growing and learning, and you should be able to have the freedom to do that without the instant that you say there's just the wrong thing, or you insinuate just the wrong thing, you are absolutely taken down to the kneecaps. So that's kind of something that I'm working on. Hang on here. I got to take a drink real quick. Been working in the yard all day and I'm wicked thirsty. So, okay. Anyways, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm starting to want to go to. Rational says, of course, we discriminate in all kinds of ways. I don't find heifers attractive, big women. I mean, obesity is bad. I keep away from the disease or the potential mates too. I discriminate against ideas too. If you support Nazi ideas like social justice and racial identity, I dislike and will oppose it. Discrimination is normal. That's absolutely true and absolutely right. And you know what? We do that, and it's a normal thing to do. I think we need to keep it in check when it comes to discriminating against a person that just because of something without getting a chance to know them. I was listening to Mr. Reagan and Destiny. They did a debate yesterday, and he said that there was a difference between I can't remember. Was it assumptions and assuming something? And what was the other thing he said? Dang it. I should have had this one more thought out. Assumptions and wait for it. Judge. It was assumptions and making judge. I forget exactly how he worded it. Maybe I'll just scratch that part because I can't remember exactly how he said it. But basically, it was like you assume as soon as you meet somebody, you assume something of them, but then you're open to, say, finding out if that assumption is correct. That's one thing, where you're assuming something and you are, but you so you kind of have a discrimination, maybe, or not discrimination. You have a wall up to say, I think this person's going to be this way, but I'm going to give it a chance to figure it out. That's very normal and very different than looking at somebody and going, this person is that way, just making a judgment right off the get-go. This person is that way, and automatically, without getting to know them, just assuming or just taking for face value that this is the way that person's going to be. So I'll have to clarify that later. Maybe I should look it up. But anyways, I'm not gonna. So yeah. So I'm trying to shed some of that fear and some of that like, oh, what are people gonna think? I don't give a crap what you think if I say something wrong, because I know who I am. I know that I'm not an asshole. I've been a bit of an asshole maybe at times, but I know I'm not some racist piece of crap. And I can make judgments on facts against certain things. And it doesn't matter the sexual preference or color of your skin if I'm making those judgments and they're based on something logical and rational and factual, right? And that doesn't make me some racist piece of crap, because I'm not a racist piece of crap. But I am not going to just tiptoe around through the tulips on the eggshells because I'm so scared I'm going to offend every little person. And if I step over and I say something wrong and it's brought into my attention and I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that was wrong, then I'll apologize for it. So that's kind of my new thing moving forward. I'm trying to shed and break out a little bit of what what I feel is what needs to be done. Anyway, yeah, so Rational's in here. Got a couple other people, who knows who they are, and because they're not in the chat, but it's probably a YouTube person checking out my channel and to make sure that I am correctly thinking. So I want to jump into kind of what I want to talk about here, which is on these 8 stages of genocide. So by the way, some people might have been looking for the Drone Tech stream today. Drone Tech hurt his neck, so he wasn't able to do a stream today. So we're not doing that. But so I thought I would jump on and do one that I've been wanting to work on. So let me get this all pulled up the way I want to. There it is, right there. We'll transition over. Wow, bam. Okay, so this article, and I'm going to go here to this live version so I can see what's up in the chat. Maybe not. Because I'd like to be able to see what's going on in chat, but where's that at? Where chat? Where are you at? Maybe it's over here. Hang on a second, guys. Rational, you're the only one here, so it's all good. Why isn't my chat side working here? Oh, I know why. Hang on. No, that's not why. Maybe that's why. I want to be able to get my chat up, and it's not showing up there on the side. Boom. Nope, that's not it either. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I digress. Should have been there, but who cares? Oh, no, that's why. Maybe. No, I don't know. That's probably not why. Okay. Anyways, I will kick back over here to the chats as I can and see what's going on. In fact, real quick, let's see what we got going on here. Hang on a second. It says 5 watching for me. Yeah, it says 3 watching for me, but there could be that's weird. So I will just kind of go through these. There's usually a little chat window here, and I don't know why I don't have my chat window up so I can at least see. And oh, I know why. Maybe that's why. That's probably why. Refresh chat. Let's try this. Okay, yeah. So now I should be able to at least see as I'm going through some of the chats that pop up. Okay. All right. Okay, so there, I'm sorry, I'll have to cut some of that shiznit out before I finally put that back up. But let's go back over to this window now. So, this article was written by Gregory Hanton, I believe his name is. Whatever's in the chat or whatever's in the title is the correct one. It's been hot here, and I'm a little dehydrated. So It says, and it talks about the 8 stages of genocide. So this article by Gregory Hatton talks about the 8 stages of genocide, and he's talking about literal genocide, right? That and the stages that happen before a country actually commits genocide on its people. So when I was reading this, and I've touched on them before, but I want to kind of go through it longer here. When I was touching on it before, I was realizing, reading it before, I was like, wow, this really kind of, if we allegorically or, look at this in an analogous way, this has a lot of crossover with what the left is doing to the right now, or not even so much to the right, to the classical liberals, to the liberals who believe in free speech, and to obviously the conservatives who believe in free speech, and the free exchange of ideas. And so I thought I'd go through it. So let's just jump right in. So it says classification. All cultures, and this is based off of his, it's not word for word off of his 8 stages of genocide. It's kind of a modified version of that, but it's basically the same stuff. So it says all cultures have categories to distinguish people into us and them by ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsi. Well, obviously, we've done that when it comes to the cultural societal mix too, right? We've had the enlightened, equitable, woke progressives versus the deplorable, bigoted, racist conservatives. Those on the right are classified in extremely negative manners while being effectively given no credibility in defending their position logically or rationally from the far left. The main preventative measures at this early stage is to develop universalistic institutions that transcend ethnic and racial divisions, that actively promote tolerance and understanding and promote classifications that just transcend divisions. Well, that's kind of, we could also say otherwise known as group identity, identity politics, identitarians, intersectionality, social justice warrior ideology, coded in fake tolerance and pseudo love and acceptance, right? He goes on to say, promotion of a common language in countries has also promoted transcendent national identity. I agree with this in relation to actual language, though in this application I will convey language to insinuate acceptable speech and identitarian verbiage. This search for common ground is vital to early prevention of genocide. This is true. I agree with this statement. We should come together to stop the social genocide taking place currently. Through the IPS, or we'll refer to that as identity politics supporters, is looking to create common ground by removing all dissenting ground. So you have a search for common ground is vital to early prevention in genocide. This is what he says. And this is what the identitarians are saying. Anything that goes against our common language, our common ground, which is identity politics and this identitarian ideology, needs to be removed, right? We need to remove all of that so that we all can have the common ground being the identity politics. The next step, he says, is discrimination. Systematic prejudicial treatment of people based on their memberships in a particular communal group, i.e. the target group. Starting to sound familiar, right? Who's the target group here? This group identity everywhere, right? Now, I'm not saying even the right doesn't have obviously group identity. I think it does in a lot of ways. But this far left, very, I don't know what to call it, aggressive, if you will, identity politics is what I'm talking about. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Systematic prejudicial treatment of people based on their membership in a particular communal group in a way that is worse than the treatment given to members of the majority or non-targeted groups. So it says, how familiar does this sound to what is happening with conservatives or classical liberals who believe in free speech and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights currently, right? So those people are the ones who are being targeted. This places target group members in a position where they are seen as undesirable members of a society. Conservatives, right? Who are undeserving of equal treatment, thus setting them up to be dehumanized though they may not yet genuinely be viewed as non-human or subhuman. In practical terms, discrimination serves to limit the life opportunities of target group members and transforms them into second-class citizens. What do you think? How does that not apply to allegorically to what's happening right now with Silicon Valley and with the mainstream media and with the far left and with these identitarian politicians pushing all of this stuff against, primarily the conservatives or the white privileged males, right? All of those people are turned into this group that is to be shunned, this group that is to be given second-class status. Think about this honestly. Think about how this currently is being done to anyone who thinks conservative, like what conservative college or high school students think, right? They're absolutely shamed and shouted down and yelled at and told that they're bigots and they're racists and they're hateful and they're Nazis, right? Publicly saying you are a conservative, right? You are completely thrown into that second-class citizenship. Publicly saying you believe in free speech, man, you are just, oh my God, how can you say that you believe in hate speech? Wearing a MAGA hat. What happens when somebody goes around wearing a MAGA hat? We've seen the constant and total beratement of those people and physical violence done against those people. We have the Carlos Mazas and all these other, the Maxine Waters of the world that are actually saying, when you see these conservatives, you make a scene and you shout them down and you call them out. Or when you see those MAGA hat wearings, you go up and that's the new KKK symbol. You go out and you punch them, punch a Nazi, punch somebody wearing a MAGA hat, throw a milkshake in their face, so on and so forth. Wearing or displaying the U.S. flag, espousing conservative viewpoints, expressing support for Trump on social media or at the workplace. 1 second here, guys. Wouldn't be an SJG stream if I didn't have to, take a call. So hang on a second. Sorry about that. Like I said, wouldn't be an SJG stream without that. Why we paused on this, I'm going to pick this back up in a second here. I want to check something out real quick. Just so I know if there's anybody even still left in here. 6 are watching. Why is my chat? I had 0 viewers in here. So I got 6 people. Sorry, guys. I didn't even know I had 6 people still watching while I drive. So just lurking and listening. Okay, cool. So I got 6 people watching. I apologize for the breakup there. I do not know what's happening with my chat feature over here. It is not refreshing because it sucks. And so anyway, so I am going to come back to the chat here in a minute, but I'm going to jump back in with where I was. And I apologize for the breakup on that. I'm going to have to edit this down. I'm an idiot. Okay, here we go. So back to my notes. Wait for it and boom. Okay. So you think about that. You think about how the group has been completely the identity of the group. What it says up here, it says, I'm going to read it again. Though they may not yet be generally viewed as non-human or subhuman, in practical terms, discrimination serves to limit life opportunities of target group members and transform them into second-class citizens. We see that happening right now completely and totally with this adpocalypse, with what's going on with censorship. They can try to say that, it's not. Poor conservatives just think they're being so censored. Yeah, we are. But guess what? It doesn't really matter because, it does matter, but it's also working in our favor because more people are realizing you're outing yourself, you social justice, identitarian, far left pieces of turds. You're outing yourself for the complete and total authoritative or authoritarian Nazi fascists, people that you are being right now. You're outing yourself for that. So that one's on you. So anyways, but it's happening. Discrimination may either be official as a result of the formal state policies or unofficial as a result of commonly held attitudes in a given society. So again, think about what happens to those who oppose identity politics or intersectionality ideology and all that entails: the LGBTQ, the feminists, the Sharia law, the hate speech, the hate crimes, immigration, censorship, gun rights. You believe in any of that, and you are a second-class citizens in the societal social world that we now live in. Saying you believe in science and biology, right? That's hate speech. Having a religious convictions in a system of belief, that's hate speech. That's hate life. That's hate ideology. Saying you believe in truth and logic, right? Actually, rational truth and logic. That makes you a bigot and a fascist and a hateful fascist. Standing for the Bill of Rights makes you this right-wing extremist. Standing for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He goes on to say here, examples of events that would be tagged as discrimination include preferential hiring practices or the outright denial of an employment. Well, like Trump supporters or a conservative, right? You got to keep that secret in the workplace. You got to be careful who you share that with. You got to feel somebody out, not literally #MeToo compliant. You actually have to feel somebody out before you share with them that you're a conservative, because you are going to just be, that is just like you're a scum. You are a hateful Nazi? I didn't know. Opportunities in some or all categories of work. Restrictions or denial of government services. Well, restriction or denial of social media or online services, right? That's how that could apply to my analogy, my allegorical analogy of how I'm applying these things. Granting rights or access to resources, such as land and water, to some groups at the expense of others. Again, social media, which is a massive part of everyday life and communication today. You are not granted rights to these things if you have wrongthink. If you have wrongthink, you are not going to have a YouTube channel. You are not going to be you're monetized on your YouTube channel. You are going to be taken off of Twitter. You are going to be shut off of Facebook. What has now become the public square that the vast majority of everyone uses for communicative ideas, right, and sharing ideas and having a platform, that's going to be taken away from you if you have conservative ideas. Limiting access to public education. College campuses are so far left. This is comparable, even if it's not exactly the same. You aren't limited necessarily from going to these colleges if you're conservatives yet. But if you are a conservative and you voice that conservative viewpoint when you're in college, you can get bad grades. It's happened a lot of times. Professors will out you and give you a hard time. Your classmates will shout you down and scream you down and completely and totally ostracize you, to where people are scared. College kids are scared. It's starting to change, but for a very long time, scared or not wanting to share the fact that they are, conservatives. So this was in the classification of discrimination. It's interesting how this group that screams so much about tolerance and lack of discrimination seems to have the very least amount of tolerance and the most discrimination. Symbolization, the next stage. Symbolization is a process where symbols are used to identify others, often based on their physical characteristics. This ranges from the use of derogatory language to, on the extreme end, forcing individuals to wear physical markers to identify their race or their group of membership. Or in the application I'm presenting, in the apparel they wear. MAGA hats, American flags, NRA stickers, troop support, or troop support ribbons, those little yellow ribbons, right? You wear those, all of a sudden it's like, and it isn't like they're people, the left is forcing you to wear them so they know, but as soon as you put any of those things on or you identify yourself as a conservative by any of these things, all of a sudden you then are, oh my God, you are one of those. You are one of those. Gavin McInnes just did this little video where he drove around wherever he lives in New York or upstate New York or something. And there's these new signs going around, which is great. I mean, fine. At least people are being honest and sharing what they think. But they had these like little placard things you put in your yard, like the I'm voting for this. And it basically says, no hate supported here. We hate Trump. We hate Trump supporters. Immigration reform or whatever is a crime, and immigrants are welcome. Just basically plastering anybody who has any kind of conservative voices and opinions, and they were just. And it's funny because one thing he showed is every place that had one of those signs didn't have an American flag, because the American flag now is considered, when you see someone flying an American flag or on their truck, you're like, it's automatically assumed by the left is that is some Nazi. That's a racist neo-Nazi that's flying a flag, right? Why isn't that people can't actually take away and realize, yes, America's done some messed up things, and there's some things that we maybe aren't necessarily proud of in our history that we've done, but take that and be able to remove that from the fact that there's a lot of good things America does stand for, and there's a lot of good things that America is about, and that we can be patriotic about the good things and not live in the past and the hate of all the bad things, right? There is no other place in the world as of right now where you can say what you want to do, say what you want to say. And you barely can anymore in America. You legally can't be arrested for it yet, but you socially are so terribly shamed for it, it's almost not worth it at times. And well, it is worth it, but people are becoming programmed not to share that because, oh no, what are they going to think of me? What are people going to think of me if I say that? What are people aren't going to like me if I think that? So it's very, very commonly happening right now. Examples of this include the gold star used by the Nazis to mark people of Jewish origin, or the blue scarves used by the Khmer Rouge to mark people from the Eastern Zone. Again, I'm just reiterating the above comments here. People walking around with MAGA hats, how many of those have been assaulted? A butt ton. You never get it covered, but there's a ton. You walk on you wear anything that shows that you support America, or you're patriotic, or that you're conservative, or that you're just classically liberal in the sense that you support the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and you are part of the problem. You are a terrible, evil, racist Nazi. Examples of events that would be tagged as symbolization include authorities in a country, such as media or government, use propaganda or symbols to represent a group or individuals from a group as the others. Again, you look at CNN, MSNBC, all these really far left-leaning news organizations. Don Lemon came out and said that the single greatest threat to America is white males, right? Is white males. And by inference, conservatives. Some other examples here is they may be called weak, undesirable, or dishonest, or deplorable, right? Old Hillary said that, right? The deplorables. So it's these little, and there's so many of them. I'm not going to touch on every one of these classifications and the way they spin things, and not necessarily even know exactly what they say, but the framework of how they say it, right? It's the deplorables. It's the bad supporters, the Trump supporters, those, I've said it. Anyways, there's a active campaign right now to do that, to push people who have a different point of view, who are on the conservative point of view, who are on the Bill of Rights, who are on the free speech, right? On the Second Amendment, the supporting of the rights to bear arms, right? Those kind of people are the evil, bad, gross people. And there is a major push within the major mainstream media to demonize those people. It is absolutely undeniable. You are completely being disingenuous if you say that isn't true. That is absolutely the truth right now. I believe it's changing, and it's being called out to where hopefully this is going to change in the next several years to come. I actually have hope for the Gen Zers coming up behind that are just, maybe they're going to swing that pendulum back a little bit because they're so sick and tired of all the crap that they've been raised with, of not being able to say what they want to say and think what they want to think. But a lot of them are just they're just the programmed NPCs, that just go right along with it, that only read the headlines of the news, that only read the little clips and the snippets. And then that's what they take, and they think that Trump did say all these, said he loves Nazis and loves the neo-Nazis and the KKK, and he supports those, like from Joe Biden to the mainstream media to all these other left-wing pundits have came out and pushed that false headline, thinking that you American people are too stupid to actually look it up, right, and realize that isn't what he was saying at all, and that he actually disavowed that. But all you got to say is you just got to put the headline out there, and most people are just going to buy it and believe it. However, in order to maintain a contrast with dehumanization, examples of symbolization do not portray the group as an innate threat to society or as subhuman or non-human yet in this phase. And none of these phases, stages, phases, whatever, are necessarily linear. They don't always have to work by A, B, C, D, E. They can bounce around. And as we go through this, we'll find out that all these stages are at work right now in our society. Authorities are imposing physical markings to identify group members. So this section crosses over with dehumanization in regards to an analogy I'm proposing, due to the fact they currently are calling Trump and Trump supporters as a threat to society. Who just came out and said, old Biden just came out and said Trump, and by default, Trump supporters are an existential threat to America. And then like I just talked about, he propagated that lie, perpetuated the same damn talking point lie about that Trump supported the KKKs in Virginia and what happened in Charlottesville. So All right, so let's move into the dehumanization stage, right? Dehumanization is the denial of the humanity of a group. Group here equals conservatives, classical liberals, the internet, or the internet dark web or intellectual dark web, the IDW, the constitutionalists, the patriotic Americans. Here's the group now that I want you to keep in mind. This group, we've been talking about it, but this group here is where the far left and the mainstream media now has been dehumanizing, right? It's this group right here. Individuals from a group are identified as subhuman or non-humans. They are often referred to as animals, vermin, insects, or diseases. They're referred to as bigots, homophobes, racists, sexists, xenophobes, hateful, intolerant, deplorables, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, fascists, ignorant, privileged males, or just privileged, so on and so forth. These are the buzzwords that are thrown around at the group of anybody who's a patriot or a classical liberal or a conservative or is on or the Joe Rogans of the world to the Dave Rubins of the world to the Jordan Petersons to the Ben Shapiros to these intellectual dark web people that are actually challenging the thought that censoring and the takedown of free speech and free exchange of ideas is a terrible idea. These are the people that are completely and totally. Ben Shapiro, for crying out loud, has been called a racist. Ben Shapiro, right? He's a Nazi. Ben Shapiro, the devout Jewish man, right? Yeah, it defies. It just kind of it does defy logic. It doesn't kind of defy logic. It thoroughly defies logic. As a result of the dehumanization. It says the process of dehumanization portrays group members as innately threatening to society. Tell me that isn't what's being said by the mainstream right now and by those who are attacking the right. Tell me that doesn't apply. Please tell me that doesn't apply. That from all the Democratic presidential candidates to all the mainstream media on the left to all of the social media giants, Silicon Valleys, tell me that doesn't apply with a straight face. Try not to crack a smile when you say that. That the process of dehumanization portrays group members as innately threatening to society, meaning that they are threatening solely because they are members of the group. As a result of dehumanization, crimes and attacks against members of the group are allowed to occur with impunity. They are ignored by authorities such as the police and the courts. Smear campaigns, deplatforming, unpersoning, demonetization, censoring, ridiculing, silencing, and actual battery and assault. Right? All these things are happening. You think of the Cuffington kids, right? You think of what happened there where they just got smeared before any of the facts were out because it was a bunch of white little smirky kids wearing a Make America Great hat. Then all of a sudden all the background comes out and all the news comes out and all the actual facts come out on it. And they actually were the ones that were not doing anything. They were the ones who were approached. They were the ones who were getting assailed and assaulted by the black Israelites. They were the ones that were getting, people were going at them. Everything gets twisted. The Jussie Smollett, all of a sudden, Jussie Smollett, right? It's MAGA hat country, bitch. And he gets attacked, right? And everyone's screaming at how it's all this, it's Trump's fault and it's white American and so on and so forth. And we find out, oh, wait, it was all a freaking lie, right? This goes on and on. There was the other kid, the other gay trans person that said that Trump supporters or Republicans, conservatives burnt his house down, right? Well, it turns out he burned his own house down. So you got the fake crimes, you got these fake hate crimes, and there's a bunch of fake hate crimes that have happened that don't get reported on. A bunch of them that get pointed at the conservatives. There is a absolute and undeniable assault against people, against conservatives and the right to absolutely dehumanize them. They are not people. Examples of events that would be tagged as dehumanization include authoritative sources such as government officials or media personalities deny the humanity of group members. Group members are portrayed as non-human or subhuman. Again, deplorables and so on and so forth. Representation of the group as an innate threat to society. Individuals are, by extension, considered threats based solely on the group membership. So if you believe in freedom of speech and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you are a fascist, you are a bigot, you are a Nazi, you are a racist, sexist, homophobe. If you believe in any of that, you're an evil piece of crap. Crimes and attacks against members of the group are ignored or encouraged. What did Carlos Maza just come out and say? What did he just come out and say? He's the one who cried foul when Steven Crowder was simply taking down his videos, his strike-through videos, right? And making some snarky little schneid remarks about his sexual preference and making fun of him in a comedic way. Whether or not it's funny or you think it's funny or not, that's up to you, and I'm not going to debate that with you right now. But what did he do? He actually was just simply rebutting this guy's video, and this guy gets so butthurt, no pun intended, by this, that he actually goes out and says, started everything he did. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. Everybody knows about it by this point. But what did Carlos Maza say? Carlos Maza called Tucker Carlson a white supremacist. He's calling Tucker Carlson a white supremacist, and then he says he actually calls for violence. He actually crosses the line of free speech, that all conservatives would agree with is the line, which is call to action. Call to action is where everyone's like, what do we do? I don't understand what we do with free speech, man, because, well, free speech, it's just a slippery slope. So where do we make the terms and conditions, and how do we do it? It's pretty simple. The old farts a couple hundred years back, when they figured out the Bill of Rights, figured it out. What they said, what it stands for, or where the line is when you call for action to be done against somebody, that's the line. You should be able to say whatever the F you want to say about anybody and everybody and anything. When you call to action, like telling his supporters, his million followers, to throw milkshakes in the face of people they disagree with, when you're Maxine Waters and you're calling for people to harass and assault people that disagree with you on the right, when you call for action, you've crossed the line. That's how simple it needs to be. Why are we making this more difficult than it needs to be? That is the line. Courts refuse to prosecute and police refuse to arrest the perpetrators. MSN attacks, the doxings, the call for violence, the calls for ridicule. Examples like I've already given: the Covington boys, Kathy Griffin cutting off the head of the doll, the MAGA head attacks, the Don Lemon comments, right? Silicon Valley with everything they've said, from the Jack Dorseys to the Mark Zuckerbergs to the Susan Wojcicki's, whatever her name is, Wojcicki, like off the, Monsters Inc. When you call for action, that's the point. That's the point where you should have an issue. And as we see right here, courts refuse to prosecute. The public court refuses to prosecute against the takedown of these people. Okay, let's take Tommy Robinson, for instance, and Gavin McInnes. The SPLC, which turns out the leaders of the SPLC were racist pigs, right? There was a whole big thing. He got fired. And I think there was and sexual misconduct pieces. He was a complete pervert, right? So it's kind of funny, the hypocrisy there. But the SPLC, who is a far, far left-leaning organization, smeared Gavin McInnes and said that he was a neo-Nazi, white supremacist, and smeared him so bad he got deplatformed off of everything. So much so that Gavin McInnes is suing the SPLC, and it looks like he's probably going to win, right? As is the Covington boys. They're pushing back on this because nothing was done. Nothing was done against these organizations that are on the left, that are left-leaning, that did this assault against the right. Nothing's done to them. They're just given a free freaking pass. Free pass. Free pretty much pass. Nobody calls them to account. One thing I'm going to shout out for Drone Tech. I got Drone Tech shirt on right here. Right there, Drone Tech. Call out to Drone Tech. Shout out to Drone Tech. I appreciate Drone's videos so much because he does a lot of work on those, you guys. And if you're not supporting him, you need to be. You need to be subscribed to him and be on Patreon with that guy, because he puts them out weekly of like just calling out the fake BS with CNN. That's kind of his niche, right? The CNN and MSNBC. And he niches on that, and he does it better than almost anybody out there does. And he calls out all the fake things, how nothing happens to these people, perpetuate lies constantly, and nothing happens to them, right? It is absolutely, absolutely happening, and it's been happening for a long time. And now people are starting to rise up and push back and say, this is a bunch of bullshit, and we're not going to take it anymore, right? So anyways, I don't know if that was... Might have got off track a little bit on that one, but I don't think I did. Anyways, organization. Organization refers to the process by which the perpetrators of planning and developing resources to commit genocide. This includes the creation of militias, informal paramilitary groups, concentration camps, and mechanisms intended for the purpose of extermination. To distinguish organizations from preparation, the process is on resources controlled by the perpetrators, rather than the actions meant to directly affect members of the targeted group. So, in comparison of my little analogy here, we can look at the total and complete societal programming from mainstream media, right? The MSN against the right, against those who think these things or believe in these things, or for free speech and so on and so forth, right? We can see the complete and total programming that's taking place from the mainstream media and the social media and far left capitulating politicians pushing the masses to accept figurative arming of militias against conservatives and free thought groups. So yeah, they're not out there arming up. No, they want to take our guns away, but they are figuratively arming up and they're figuratively putting their militias together, right? To go after the conservatives and the free thought groups. They're arming up that way. Preparation and creation of allegorical concentration camps or censorship camps, the banishing, the deplatforming, the unpersoning, right? You are pushed off into the non public square world. You are pushed off into that. We are going to put you in a timeout. People joke about their Twitter and their Facebook timeout when they say the wrong thing. Justin Trouble. If you guys haven't subscribed to Justin Trouble also, he does a lot of stuff on the far left and Antifa. Justin Trouble's another great content provider I would tell everybody to go check out. But he's been put in timeout I don't know how many times, right, on Facebook and so far, putting his little concentration camp of that. Now I realize it's not the same thing as actual concentration camps, right? But it is figurative concentration camps for sure. The fascists on the far left are putting conservatives in figurative concentration camps all the time. So yeah, preparation, creation of allegorical, preparation for exterminating countervailing opinions and those who hold them. That's what they do. They also are preparing for that exterminating of the countervailing opinions or ideas or thoughts. And that's constantly happening and ramping up right now. It's ramping up more than ever right now. Next stage, polarization. Polarization refers to political or violent acts meant to create divisions in the society. Mainstream media constantly lying and distorting the truth regarding the truth of a specific incident or situation. Again, I'll go back to, let's say, the Covington Boys scenario, right? Or the Jussie Smollett situation, or there's a plethora of them, right? There's a plethora of them. But basically, there's the mainstream media pushes these false narratives of what happened with Trump, right? Of the Trump collusion, that Trump is, was colluding with the Russians and he supports the Russians and so on and so forth, right? They push these polarizing false narratives and most people don't take the time to really understand, like I said before, and read and dig in to find out really what happened. Most people take the headlines. Most people read the headlines. They know that. They know that's a proven fact in these media outlets, right? That the headline is almost the most important thing out of the article. Like this recent article that came out that Trump is putting people in internment camps. He's putting immigrants into concentration internment camps. Well, when you dig into it, that's basically what the headline said. When you dig into the article, it's actually the same military bases that Obama had kept some of the immigrants, illegal immigrants, the overflow of them. It's some of these, it's not internment camps they're locking up into. There's some of these military bases they're used for the overflow that's coming in, and they have no place to put them. So they're sticking them in some of these military bases while they hold them for a little while. But Obama did it too, right? It's not like, and every other president has done it. It's not something that's solely for Trump, but that's what they do. They tell you that, and most people aren't going to look into it. Members of a different group are discouraged from normal societal interactions, and members of certain ethnic or religious groups are denied the right to participate in society. I don't have to dig into this again. We understand the allegory of the allegorical connection I'm trying to make here, and it's making it for me. I mean, just think, conservative group, conservatives, IDW, patriots, classical liberals. This is the group we're talking about. And when we apply that to this, we say members of the different groups, the group I just said, are discouraged from normal societal interactions, being spanked and put in timeout and put in these figurative, concentration camps, if you will, all the time. And members of the certain ethnic or religious groups are denied the rights to participate in society. How do we participate in society mostly right now? Through social media. That's how we do it. And I know I'm being redundant in what I'm saying here, but I want to drive the point home. It's through social media. And if you don't have the right think, you are not allowed to participate in society, participate in the sharing of your ideas if your ideas don't line up. I mean, you talk about like Rational, who's in the chat. I hope he's still in the chat. You know, what's going on in Australia too right now, like in the UK with Tommy Robinson, right? It is unbelievable the amount of discriminatory censorship and attacks that is happening to these guys simply because of wrong think, because they have a differing opinion. Social media, sites, news organizations, so on and so forth. Yeah, touch that. Group members are blamed for terrorist attacks, or terrorist attacks are committed to create divisions between sectarian groups. In some contexts, moderates are removed from the political positions by force or procedural methods. So yeah, this is kind of, again, what I touched on with the IDW, intellectual dark web type people, and the Tim Pools of the world, the Dave Rubins of the world, these kind of guys who are the kind of the moderates, right? And they're liberals, actually, right? They are also attacked by the far left because they believe in Constitution and free speech. They believe in these things. So they're hardcore attacked by the far left, as is, of course, the conservatives. They say their groups of men are blamed for terrorist attacks. That's so interesting because when you have a Muslim that attacks somebody, that does a Muslim attack, it is tried, or shoots somebody up, it is tried with all might by the mainstream media to stay away from who that, because it doesn't fit their narrative, right? Stay away from, that it's a Muslim, that it is a person of color, a black person. If it doesn't fit the narrative of a white male, they stay away from that. They don't mention it at all. But as soon as a shooting happens, and if it is a white male, like in the Christ Church, all of a sudden, that's everything that's put out there. That's constantly put white male, far alt-right, neo-Nazi male shoots up people, blah, blah, blah. Trump's to blame for this, da-da-da-da-da. Then they misquote his damn, little essay he put out there. I can't think of the word right now. They throw all that out there. Okay. I was on a roll on this one too. Hold up 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. Anyways, as soon as if it fits the narrative, they're shooting it out there to try to cause polarization. And if it doesn't fit their narrative, they're trying to limit it down. Members of the group are denied the rights to participate in society normally. They're denied rights to attend school, right? Again, going back to conservatives in college. Join professional organization, labor unions, gather in public, participate in politics. Members of a different group are prohibited or otherwise discouraged from interacting socially. Again, I don't need to rehash everything of how this applies. You're starting to get it. Terrorist attacks occur that are blamed on specific ethnic groups or religious groups, or groups take credit for terrorist attacks to create division between groups. Again, like what happened at the Christtown thing. All of a sudden, these things are just totally blown up and completely and totally talked about. Mixed status categories are unrecognized. How about the societal shaming of mixed political couples, right? When you have, I've heard of several couples that have gotten split up because of politics, because you have one that's a conservative and one that's a liberal, and they just can't even handle it because they are so trained, you are so trained on the left to think how terrible anything conservative is that you can't even have mixed relationships anymore. It's a thing. Peaceful political rallies are attacked to create division in politics. Conservative patriotic rallies are assembled by crazed leftist protesters. So when you have this, you have somebody on the right wanting to have a protest, right? Wanting to have a rally. Who shows up? Antifa. What do? They just shout them down with all the names we talked about before. Or political rallies are held to further division in society. How about like the BLMs or the Women March or the anti-Trump rallies or the Antifa or the Occupy Wall Street stuff? You have these rallies by the far left that are covered with such flowery and wonderful coverage of the suffrage of these people, right? and there, but it just is, it's caused that the powers that be behind it, right? The Warren Buffetts of the world and the George Soroses of the world who fund these things, they're funding them for division. They're funding them for control. Political moderates are removed through force or other non-electoral means. The concerted efforts against the intellectual dark web or classical centrist liberals. The next phase is the preparation. I got a couple more steps here. I'm going to take a quick looky-loosky here. We're on preparation about where we're at because I don't have it up on my other one. See if we still got people in here. Got 5 people. Lost some people. Got Rational just lighting it up. I should have had you in here, man. But yeah. Yeah. So I'll get to some of these comments here in a little bit. Okay. So, all right. Okay, let me get back here and to finish up this little paper that I'm reading, and then I'll get to some of these questions. Wrong window. How you doing? Okay. So the next step we have is preparation. Preparation refers to actions taken by the perpetrators to prepare a target group for extermination. The goal of preparation, or the goal of preparation, would probably be the goal of preparation, is to identify members of the target group and reduce the target group's ability to resist through disruptions such as arrest, detainment, forced migration, or exile. Or, in this analogy, censorship campaigns, hate speech laws, ad apocalypse, unpersoning, deplatforming, etc. Examples of events that would be tagged as preparation include arbitrary, without legal reason, arrest or detention of members of a target group. Or, in this analogy, social media arbitrarily and inconsistently applying their terms of service. Just changing it on the fly. If they don't like what you have to say, you don't violate their terms of service, but they take you down anyways. They remove your videos anyways. They demonetize them anyways. They shadow ban them anyways. Arbitrary seizure of property of members of the target group. Closing of social media pages, right? How many people that have worked years building up their followings to thousands of people or millions of people, and all of a sudden overnight, boom, they just close them down. They arbitrarily seize them, take them down. This is the preparation stage. Authorities attempting to disarm members of the target group. Same as above, and you could take even that into the actual, from allegorical to a practical of this, the active assaults on taking away the Second Amendment, right? It's actually trying to, disarm these members physically, but they're also disarming them by taking away any kind of platform they have to speak to share what they want to say. Authorities creating a list of group members or performing other activities to identify or map the demographics of the target group. You have social media actual lists. You have the shadow banning. You have the algorithm burying posts. So you have authorities creating lists of group members to attack. Project Veritas, for instance, did that undercover coverage or undercover coverage, did that undercover analysis, and had whistleblowers come in to say how these social media sites actually have these conservative people on lists. They know who the conservatives are. They know who are the wrong think, and they have you on a list, and they're automatically shadow banning, unpersoning, taking taking notifications away from content providers, actually removing followers from content providers. There was a couple. I only have a few on Twitter, but so I know pretty much everyone who I follow, and so I was unfollowed from a couple people that I'm like, wait a minute, I was following them. And I caught it, and I made a stupid little tweet about it. But it's like they screw with you. They screw with you all the time. Authorities dividing communities or families through forced migration or exile. Members of a target group are forced into concentration camps or ghettos. Again, figurative concentration camps for silencing is being done actively to the right. And we have next stage. I think I got 2 more. Yeah, 3 more. Persecution. The persecution stage focuses on how the perpetrators of the genocidal violence target and prepare their victims. It occurs through systematic treatment of individuals who are members of the target group to cause physical or mental pain and suffering. This is cruel, persistent, widespread treatment is generally intended to weaken the target group and place its members in a vulnerable position. This is just spot on for what's happening. I don't need to rehash everything I've already said above, but man, it's spot on the persecution side of this. This makes them less able to resist future abuses and eventual extermination. And so the nice part about this is it's not really working because we all have banded up enough together and are raising our voice enough together. And it's hitting people that before maybe didn't care so much, maybe more liberals, more centrist, left-leaning liberals or whatever, but they don't have quite the crazy far left ideologies. They're now even getting hit by the censorship and deplatforming and unpersoning and so on and so forth. So they're all of a sudden waking up to going, holy shit, man, wait a minute. So it's kind of probably, hopefully, their attempt to take them down is beginning to backfire, and I hope it continues. I hope the voice and the wave continues to grow, and these social media platforms will wake up. I don't think they will, because this is going to be a cultural war that is fought till I don't know how it's won. If it's actually won with actual violence, right? Which I pray to God that doesn't ever come to any of that. Or if it's just won finally with just enough back and forth, figurative fighting to where the ideas went out. But it's actively happening for sure. It says, this makes them less able to resist future abuses and eventual extermination. That's their hope, right? They break us up, they silence us, that will go away. Especially during early stages, persecution measures may target elite members of the target group, such as formal leaders, clergy, intellectuals, and business owners. I found this very interesting because who are the ones right now? I'm not really getting taken down. I got 400 and something subscribers, but the Stephen Crowders of the world, the Gavin McGinnis's, the Laura Loomers, the Avi Yemeni, the Tommy in the UK, I'm having a brain fart, Tommy Robinson, the Alex Jones, which Alex is a bit of a, anyways, I'm not here to say I like Alex Jones, but he's definitely got a major following. The Paul Joseph Watsons, the Vincent Janes, the Drone Techs of the world, the Owen Benjamins, the PragerU. The list is long and pronounced of conservative voices or centrist voices being assaulted. They go after the big ones first to scare the little fish below, but also the little fish below don't have much pool, so they're not too worried about that. But they go after the main ones. They go after the formal leaders first. That's who they go after. Please try to show me how that isn't happening. Examples of events that would be tagged as persecution include imprisonment of leaders and clergy. Again, figurative imprisonment has been happening, right, with the unpersoning and so on and so forth. Intellectuals and others who provide guidance to the group. Harassment of the group members through threats, arrests, vandalisms, and assaults. That completely applies to what's been happening against the content providers and the alternative voices. Torture of imprisonment of group members. That's completely, like, you think about Gavin McGinnis and how he was kicked off of everything, couldn't even get PayPal, all these things, was totally being tortured, financially and socially, because of his viewpoints. Physical concentration or forced relocation of communities into ghetto camps, right? It's pushed out all of these leaders, or not leaders, it's pushed out all of these major content providers into at what was once the peripheral little crappier social media sites, which I don't say that derogatorily, because I like them actually more, but the ones that have less mainstream appeal, and you really got to try to find the places to find these guys. They're kicked off the Twitters and the YouTubes and the Facebooks and all these other mainstream ones, and they get kicked down into the BitChutes and the Minds and the Parlors and the Gabs and all these other ones. I don't want to say they're ghetto because I like them, but you know what I mean. You mean what I know. Restrictions on travel within or outside of the country, forced exile of the group members. Restriction or denial of access to necessities such as food and water and medical supplies and treatment. Confiscation of private property such as homes, businesses, money, and physical goods, or websites, fan pages, YouTube channels, Twitter followings, etc. Then comes the extermination. Extermination refers to the actions which are meant to eliminate a target group from mass killings or other methods, such as forced sterilization or rape. Examples of events that would be targeted for extermination include mass killing of members of a target group, right? Figuratively, we've already been covering this, how there's many sites that are being figuratively taken down, figuratively murdered. Creation of mass graves. Again, same story applies. Forced sterilization of group members. Whatever. Mass rape of the group members. This is often done with the purpose of eliminating the purity of the group members in future generations. Figuratively speaking, murder, raped and pillaged, forced into exile. That is what's been happening right now from the left to the right. Denial, the final stage. Denial refers to statements or actions taken by the perpetrators to deny or dismiss the occurrence of genocide. Government or military officials deny genocide based on legal or semantic grounds. I'll keep reading. They will claim that the casualties are insufficient to be called genocide. I mean, it isn't like they're totally censoring. There's only a few people. Or point to casualties from their own group. Oh, well, great point here. So this is already happening. And in the case of the most recent purge that happened here a little while ago, they threw a few people in from the left to camouflage their attack and to create the plausible deniability that they were just targeting conservatives, right? They threw in that crazy Muslim dude. Can't think of his name right now. Anyways, they threw in a few people from the left to season it up so that there wasn't didn't look like they were just going after these conservatives when they deplatformed them and took them out, right? When they denied. They're like, we're not censoring people. No, this is a big conspiracy theory. No, there wasn't that many people. No, they're still up. The total denial that they're doing this. They blame civil wars and other conflicts for the killings and denied that they were deliberately planned. Hate speech laws, terms of service violations, protest violence, right? They can say, well, no, we took them down because they violated hate speech laws, not because we were targeting them to try to get them out of the way. Or, no, we took them down because they violated our terms of service violations, right? Or no, that was there was protest. We took them out because they're promoting protest violence, or so on and so forth. Or these protests there was violence in this in perceived violence in this speech or perceived violence in this protest, and that's why we took them down. It had nothing to do with because we didn't agree with them or trying to censor them and exterminate them, politically speaking or socially speaking. We that's not why we did it. Perpetrators of genocide may also deny the existence of discrimination or unfair treatment. Again, I'm not going to go into all the examples, but that is exactly what has happened and exactly what is said. When looking for instances of denial, it is important to remember that the UN Genocide Convention defines genocide as deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. I'm going to read that again. The UN Genocide Convention defines genocide as deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Acts of genocide may be targeted at only one class or subset of the group. That, in an allegorical comparison, is exactly what's happening. And so, the couple examples here is authorities deny genocide on legal or definitional grounds. They claim that the casualty counts are not as high enough to count as genocide, or point to casualties among their supporters, or dismiss the deaths as caused by civil war. Authorities deny the existence of activities or policies related to the other operational processes. They deny taking rights away from the target group. Genocide crimes are covered up, mass graves are hidden, and the records are destroyed. This actually is what's happening currently with the most latest Project Veritas on the Pinterest thing, where Tim Pool's video got taken down, and YouTube can't even explain to him why it got taken down. And there was another video that was put out when they were just discussing what happened with Pinterest. Tim Pool was just talking about it today, how there's something big on this whole Pinterest deal that Project Veritas just uncovered. And they're really trying to hide what's going on there. So he's like, I don't know exactly what the story is yet. We'll find out. But man, somebody hit a nerve, like with Pinterest and whatnot, in covering this, because they're trying to erase it. They're trying to just make any coverage of it go away and erase it. So that is such a essential point to be made here, is that group genocide crimes are covered up, mass graves are hidden, and the records are destroyed. That is what YouTube, that is what Facebook, that is what Twitter, that is what all these mainstream social media sites are trying to do. They're denying that they're doing this. They're denying that they're shadow banning. They're denying that there's algorithms of very conservative posts. They're denying that it's has anything to do with a conservative or a planned and specific attack against a certain way of thought and speech of why they're doing this. They have all these other fluffy reasons of why they're doing it or why it's happened, and they're denying that they are causing an actual or allegorical genocidal action for thought and speech against the right and against conservatives. So that kind of was what I wanted to cover, and I'm going to go check to see if I even have anybody watching anymore, because I know that took a while. Yeah, we're down to a few, but I do have Rational because he is here. So, anyways, so let me go through here. I don't know if I'm going to read all of these arguments. I did get called out here on this. So it says, Rational, why didn't I just have you in the stream? I should have just had you in here, man. But then we would only had 2 people in the stream. You know what I mean? It says the media lied about the white male shooter at his manifesto. They called him far right when he was on the left, and it has been used to kick us off DTube, BitTube, 4-channel, 8-channel, etc. Rational says at potentiality, potentiality, I think is the word I'm looking for. Totally. The left have called for banks to block access to our own money. Pay sites already blocked. In my opinion, potentiality says, in my opinion, there's an attempted Maoist revolution takeover going on in our country, and our government seems fairly oblivious. I think the government is on it. To be honest, the actions against Trump shows a fervor to undo democracy, the same we see in Brexit and across the European Union, where people are forced to revote if they get it wrong the first time. Here is us. It's a bit different because we have not voted wrong yet. Rational also said, you should try to reach out to Ovation Eddie, dude. He's being targeted flat out right now. See if he'd do a live stream and chat. He was up to around 50,000 subs before the takedown. He is no on Ovation Eddie. He is no on Ovation Eddie. Potentiality says, rational wrong thing. I think you're right. Trump is a powerhouse, but he's just one man and we're pretty far gone. We're further down the rabbit hole than people think. I honestly think we're the West, not just the U.S. One event from collapse, and it'll likely start in the U.K. Wrong thing said. Mass rape equals Rotherham, Rothdale, etc. This is not virtual. That has been the real thing at an horrific degree. The same has happened in continental Europe and elsewhere. The rapes happened over decades, too. Father who tried to rescue his daughter got jailed. It's just so effing bleak, and Sweden is just totally gone. Potentiality says, I think, or no, Rational says too, potentiality. I think long-term Trump may turn out to be bad for U.S. pro-liberty types. He is being used to excuse the ramping up of hate across the West, but maybe it's good. Speed up the inevitable. Sweden equals a rape capital. Man was just jailed for pointing out 100% stranger rapes over a 12-month period were committed by refugees. Truth was no defense. So I'm kind of caught up. I didn't go too far up the stream. And then Potentiality says, yeah, I'm pretty black-pilled at this point. Trump has gone, Trump has changed. I'll probably still vote for him because the Dems are just crazy. But yeah, you just can't call me P.O. Yeah, so anyways, crazy. Crazy. what is happening for sure. I just thought I thought that those 8 stages really do make a pretty interesting comparison to what is taking place against the right, against the centrists. Not even the right. I can just say the centrists, center or center right, because it's undeniable, man. It is undeniable, even though it's completely denied by on almost all accounts. Typos and type quick and don't proofread. No, it's all good, man. I don't care about your typos. Yeah, I was hoping to have a few more people in here, but it's kind of a weird time of the day, just to jump on. But anyways, yeah, it's crazy, man. And I don't know either, other than I'm so freaking pissed off about it at this point, where it's just like, okay, I don't care. If I'm going to get taken down, I'm going to go down swinging. I want to share my thoughts. I want to share what I'm thinking. I just want to, get out there and be who I'm going to be and share what I'm going to share and say what I'm going to say. And if people don't like it, tough shit. Because here's the thing. I think the pendulum eventually swings back. And I think it does. I hope it does. I think it definitely does, though, where it swings back to where people are not going to stand for this kind of control over their mind and over what they say and over how they think. I don't think people are going to stand for that for a whole big long time. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But yeah. So Rational says, I still have hope for us. The rabid escalation of the attack on freedom is red pilling people and causing people to unite to fight back. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's kind of why I feel like, you have so many people that didn't even care about Crowder, weren't even into that. But then when they got, after this Carlos Maza whole thing happened, and YouTube just went crazy on demonetizing people and hitting channels that are all alternative, and like I said, they're not all conservatives. People just got woke up to like, what the F just happened? And they got pissed and they're firing back. And it's drawing more attention to what's happening and to the, travesty of what's happening. It's drawing more attention to that. And people are starting to say, nope, enough's enough. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stand for this. And I think it ultimately, there's something good that comes out of it ultimately in the end. I'm really hoping it either reforms YouTube and YouTube stands up to the bullies, the leftist bullies, and lets them go away. You don't want to listen, you don't want to have a voice and whatnot, then just go away. Because they don't most of the time want to have any kind of a open discussion on these things anyways. So just let them go away. And maybe YouTube just says, okay, we're just going to let people, short of calling for action or being just really, really over the top offensive with their short of calling for action, right? They're going to let people stay on YouTube. If YouTube does that, okay, great. If not, there's going to be another site, YouTube. I know you think you're so strong, Google and YouTube, and you guys are, but you are not. You're not. I don't believe you are too big not to fail. I mean, I guess a lot of people say they are too big not to fail, but there'll be other sites that come up, and that there'll be a mass migration of people that want to share their thoughts and share their ideas, and it will take off too. And even if it doesn't take off to the extent that YouTube does, if we have enough people on the site to where we still can, do this and have a voice that is being heard, that's all that's going to matter. So I eventually hope that ultimately is what happens. Potentially, I don't know why I can't say your name, potentiality. You're right, and we should be hopeful or the enemy wins for sure. Yeah, absolutely right. There's still hope, and Westerners have had freedom for a long time. We're complacent, but not weak. If we lose hope, we almost are guaranteed failure. That's true. We have an ethos of liberty. Yeah, and that's what I think is starting to kick in, and people are like, fucking hey, what's happening? This bullshit. So anyway, I don't know. So I guess I've been streaming for an hour and 40 minutes now. Wow. That's a long damn time. Guys, please like the video and thumb it up and, share it out. And, Irrational says YouTube will start to collapse soon. I think we're one platform away from their decimation. Same for Farcebook and Twatter. Yeah, that's the truth. If they can get a platform up that kicks ass, that is well marketed, that it works well, that has an app, or you can get the app on your phone that allows streaming. I mean, they should do something of a mix of YouTube and like Facebook and Twitter, like mix it all up, give all the the good functions or features in all of those different apps. Combine that app together, man. That has really good high quality streaming capabilities and ways to like stay in contact, like Facebook or Twitter does, where you can give updates, so you don't just have to put a video out or have. And then Facebook, that's another funny thing Facebook did. They made it so you had to have 1,000 followers or more before you can have a community page to like put a message out to your followers. You got to have up to 1,000 subscribers before you can even do that. And the also interesting thing they just did is on the notifications. Now they've added another options for notifications. So when you subscribe to somebody, you can be notified to get all of their updates, their personalized update notifications, or no updates, no notifications. It's like, why don't you just have notifications? If somebody hits it, they get a notification. They're notified when they hit it. It's so funny to me. Anyway. You're right, Rational. They are one away. Yeah, I know. Jordan Peterson's working on a platform. It's called a ThinkSpot, I believe. It's ThinkSpot. I want to do a little more reading on that. And only do big users like Joe Paul Watson too, and then go global for all creators. That'd be rad. I want to be on that, man. I jumped on Parler, and it was so funny because when you get in on a platform when it's just kind of taking off, you can gain a lot more followers quickly. It's hard at YouTube anyways to gain any followers because there's so many of them, So I really hope that one does take off. ThinkSpot, that'd be so rad. He'll be a bagillionaire, and hopefully he's not a sheep in like Owen Benjamin thinks, like a sheep in wool or a wolf in sheep's clothing, but that he really is somebody that's going to stand by the whole free speech dealio. But that'd be great. That'd be great, man. Minds is really cool. I wish I could get more people over to Minds. Minds really awesome. And then Partico is one that's pretty cool too, but it's not quite as fluid. But Partico is another app, but it's based on BitChute or crypto technology and blockchain technology. And Parler is also good. I've been kind of liking that, but yeah, we'll see. But all right, guys, I'm going to jump off. It's 6 o'clock, and I want to get in, and maybe I might edit one of these up tonight, edit this up so it's not an hour and a half long, because nobody's going to watch it for an hour and 40 minutes. It wasn't that interesting. But I appreciate you guys hanging out, and please do share it out and subscribe, and leave your comments below afterwards. But why can't you access Minds, dude? I don't get it, man. Is it really just that authoritarian where you live? That is so crazy. That is so crazy. All right, guys. Without fear or animus, and since Rational's here, I can never get away from not saying this. I swear it's going to end up being on a shirt someday. Without fear of animals. But really, it's without fear or animus. It's SJG Perspective, and I will talk to you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification, and then the all notifications on the bell notifications, because now they've made that awkward. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Peace. Bye.